Hey guys, all right, so this video talks about recalibration week. It's something you've probably heard me talk about in a weekly chat or a Monday motivation. This video will explain a little bit more in depth about why you would want to do it, when and how it's done, in case you're considering it or you just have more questions. This should help answer it. But as always, I'm available for a consultation if you want to chat more about it. You can message me. We'll set up a time to talk specifically about you. So, basically, why you would want to do it is when, sorry, I moved this, when you feel like you have drifted away from what you want your normal way of specifically eating, but also maybe exercise, stretching, etc. By and large, think drifting happens. It's normal. We're surrounded by an excess of food. There's plenty of holidays, plenty of get-togethers, all good things, right? But there are sources of that drifting, and if we're not careful, we soften our boundaries, which YOLO, like no one needs to eat perfectly every single day. I don't expect anyone else to. That to me takes a lot of the fun and pleasure out of life. So it's normal for boundaries to soften. But then I do think it's also normal for there to be a time where boundaries are a little bit more rigid. So it's kind of that's the balance, that you're in a phase of lax, then we're in a phase of more rigid boundaries, strict, if you will, just for a period of time. So it basically just helps you reset your normal by establishing those boundaries. It gives you a recalibration week, and thinking of it like an event with a start and an end. I recommend 2 weeks, although some people really benefit from 3. Other people that are more experienced, or maybe you do like 2 or 3 a year, or maybe even 4, like once a quarter, or maybe like once a week, which we'll go into a little bit more of the hows in a minute. But it just helps give you that reason, give you that push to make the decision, to say yes to some things and no to other things. Because without, that reason to do it, without the measuring and the tracking and the accountability, it just kind of can always get put off for another day. And, in the moment, you can always think, it's not that important. But hey, wait a second. So the recalibration just kind of gives you that why. It gives you that reason, gives you that push to help you reset your normal, knowing that, yeah, you're going to drift again. So I usually recommend a recalibration week once, and I say week, I really mean 2 or 3, once or twice a year, kind of just depending on your schedule, how things are going and how you're feeling. There's no right, there's no wrong. The goal of it is not to hit everything 100%. It's not a pass or fail thing. It's really just moving from this trajectory where you would, if you would just keep drifting, where would you end up? Versus back to the path that gets you closer to, what your normal is, what feels good to you, and what gets you to your goals if you're still working towards goals, in terms of like a weight loss or a body composition goal. Okay, so this is not specifically like a weight loss plan. When we do it, you can choose to put in a calorie deficit if you would like to drop a few pounds. But again, we're only doing it for 2-3 weeks, so you're probably not going to lose more than 4 to 5 pounds. Some people can lose 10 pounds that quickly if they were holding a lot of water weight, which can happen. Our bodies are all working a little bit different, and our entrance point's a little different. So I'm not going to go and say you'll lose weight. I'm not going to go and say you can't lose weight. It just kind of depends on how you're feeling and what your goal of doing the recalibration is. If it is specifically weight loss, well then yes, we will factor in a calorie deficit. It is a really good time to do a calorie deficit, kind of like catch yourself back up. It's not enough to where it would qualify for that yo-yo dieting, which is actually dangerous and harmful, because you only do it like once a quarter, maybe for a week, or once or twice a year for 2-3 weeks, because this isn't supposed to like get you back to square one. It's just supposed to readjust. Think about like adjusting your belts, or like recalibrations, retraining your eyes, retraining your tummy and your mind for what is a portion, what is a serving, what does your body need, as far as that goes. So things I would consider if you're choosing when you would want to do this is, I would avoid a vacation. I would avoid high stress times in your life. If like your best attention needs to be on a family thing or on a work thing, because this takes work, this takes effort. You do have to track macros, you do have to follow a meal plan so you know what you're doing. And that can take attention away, which sometimes we just don't always have. So, especially if you're supposed to be like relaxing and enjoying, a destination where tracking is going to be impossible, choosing is going to affect everyone around you in a negative way. I don't recommend it. Now, there are some vacations where you actually have more time, you actually have more control over what's going on, and it may work. I would say those are more of the exception. So, my general is just avoid vacation. It's just hard to stick to it. You never really know what's coming, and paying attention to macros while you're on vacation is not usually anyone's priority. There are exceptions, but I would suggest, a lot of people think they should try to do this where they can skip holidays or skip parties or potlucks and stuff. And I actually don't recommend that. And here's why. I think it's totally okay if you have a holiday or you have like a big event, kind of even a short trip or something in your recalibration window, because they happen often during a year, right? It's like once a month almost. And so learning what your tendencies are and learning how to make better, not better necessarily, but how the choices you make would affect your drifting in the future. I think there's a lot to learn. And like, again, it's not a pass or fail. This is not a go for 100%. You can still do this and learn from it. And so when you have holidays, when you have get-togethers and they're like a pretty regular occurrence, like they are, I think it makes sense to even include them just so you can learn and see, what your tendencies are, what would be hard, and how you can make it so that they don't catalyst you into like more drifting. They don't accelerate your drifting the other times you do them throughout the year. That's just my thought. It may be easier to skip the holiday window, or skip, like a big event. And I can totally understand that as well. But I wouldn't disqualify a recalibration window for that specifically. If you want to shorten your window, you can shorten your window. If you can get like 10 days or something, well, it's worth a shot. If you don't have like 2-3 weeks, another time to do it is what I would say. So how we do it, step 1 is you decide when you're going to do it. Step 2 is we calculate your macros. So we'll get on the phone. Usually I can pull all this stuff if I have your info ahead of time, and run it through. I use 2 different calculators and they tend to overlap. So I like that a lot. And one has the really cool like PDF, like serving size and all this helpful information that you can read. And then the other one is more straightforward. It has a nice visual graph, which I find very encouraging. So we calculate macros so you know what you're shooting for as far as what your body needs. And that's where we can keep you at the weight you are, more of a maintenance, or we can shift it so that you might change your body composition a little bit. The carbs typically get a little bit lower, protein would get a little bit higher, or we can also factor in a calorie deficit. So if we need to drop a few pounds and you want to do it quickly, just kind of shed off extra water pretty much, but maybe a little bit of fat in there too. We can calculate that as well, because again, it's got a start and an end. So when you go into tracking, this is the start, this is the end. It's not something you're committing to the rest of your life, but you do have to track. And so the best way to track though, and make sure we're getting good data to put in, is to have a meal plan. So the meal plans that Jessica and I've created are usually pretty close, but they may be a little high on calories. So we can go through and make sure we can run through the meal plans that are already there or modify them to make sure they hit your ranges. But percentages should all be pretty close as they are in the meal plan to do that. So you just have to commit, and I like to see it in the app so that I can see it. I know a lot of people use different, like MyFitnessPal, Fitbit, Go Macro is one. There's a bunch of macro tracking apps, and they're not bad. I hate to make you do something new, but I can't see it. Fitbit and MyFitnessPal will sync with Trainerize, but those are the only 2 right now that are. So it helps for me to see it so I can nudge you, I can see the progress and what you're doing, make suggestions. But again, going into it with a plan, having a target, having a defined like start and end, and remembering this is resetting your normal, remembering why you're doing it, and just again following a meal plan is huge. So we can also modify the meal plans too if it is a time where everyone's not going to eat like you in your family. Normally I encourage like families to all eat the same things, because to me that sets up normal for everybody, and it really just lifts everybody in a good direction. Recalibration week is maybe where there's a little more gray hairs, and there's lots of prep that can go into that in terms of how you explain it, why how you talk about it, and how you frame it to the little ones in your family or spouses. So yeah, you may want we can simplify it as far as that goes to just kind of make it a little bit easier. It's more work, but easier at the same time, if that makes sense, where you would have your food for like a week or two. Again, it doesn't have to go that way, but a lot of times it can almost just work out better. But lots of different things. That's why I like to talk about it. So if you're interested in scheduling your recalibration period, again, it's totally optional. If you are feeling like you're clicking along or that it's too much to take on right now, then don't take it on. Like, it's not a you have to do this. It's not a I think you should do this. It's just an option. It's an option for if you have felt yourself drifting. It's an option for if you're feeling like you need that push to like get your butt moving in the right direction, that you've been too lax. There's a period for laxity and then there's a period for strict. It's just the yin and the yang. There's inhales, there's exhales. It's normal. We go this way, we go this way, we go this way, we go this way. I talk about waves all the time. If you're like feeling motivated, maybe it'd be a good thing to do like right before, if there's an event that you want to get in, like, it's almost, you can kind of think of it like a cut, but not necessarily, because where you haven't done like all the necessarily prep lead up kind of phase with it, like match the nutrition that would go along with that. But essentially, it could be a quick little like slim down, not necessarily for long term, like you wouldn't stay on that forever necessarily. So again, we have the start and the end. So if you're interested, you have questions, let me know. And hopefully that helps you understand what's going on. If you hear me talk about it, there's no pressure, like I said, but if it's an option, it's available whenever. Because even though if you're on a group program or even custom program, obviously, but even if you're doing like the workouts with the whole group, like we can still adjust all of that and it's all included. Like I don't charge extra for this. I know it helps for some people and I want it to be able to be done on your time and not be like, this is when it's going. So you have that option. Definitely, you can even ask me questions about it 10 times before you decide yes. No pressure. It's an option. If I come up with a better way to do it, I will change it. But for now, this is what I found works best. So I will leave it at that and talk to you again soon.